Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the BuzzStream Podcast. My name is Vince Nero. I'm your host, and today I'm thrilled to welcome Grace Burton. She comes to us from Digitaloft, where she's a senior digital PR executive. Although you might also know Grace from her contributions to the PR Insider, which is a fantastic newsletter in the PR space. They do great roundups of articles and campaigns that are going on, and it's definitely recommend subscribing to that. Today, we're going to be talking about building a personal brand in the PR space. So for PR professionals, personal branding can feel like a slog sometimes, it's time consuming, but it is something that does pay dividends. So that's what we're going to dig into today. Before I do, I just want to remind people to like, subscribe, share this stuff with your comments. The more I get this stuff out there, the more I can have great guests like Grace visit our podcast. So Grace, let's start kind of at the beginning here. I mentioned this, it can be a slog, as I call it. It's a time commitment to build a personal brand. This is something I've struggled with over the years. I've tried, I really have to set time aside to do things like post on social media and everything. So let's start with kind of the value that people can get out of building a personal brand.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, building and maintaining your personal brand is definitely a time commitment, but it comes with so many benefits and opportunities. There's always a stat that I like to share and come back to because I think it puts building your personal brand into perspective a little bit more, makes it feel a little bit less scary. And it's essentially that as of January this year, less than 7% of LinkedIn's 135 million users are posting content actively on the platform. And then even less than that are posting once a week. So literally 3% of users are posting once a week, which is crazy to me, right?
That is wild. Yeah. And I wonder how much of that 3% is AI spun out content.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it just puts it into perspective that if you're showing up on the platform even once a week, you're already doing better than 97% of users on that platform. And it's just a helpful reminder that consistency doesn't have to be every day. As long as you're showing up with quality content once a week, you're already ahead of the curve. But yeah, it'd definitely be interesting to break that down even further, like by country, by job role. I'm sure it'd be much less than that. So yeah, just a little bit of perspective.
Yeah, for sure. We should probably back up a little bit. I want to understand too, from your personal perspective, how you started getting into personal brand and why you decided to build your personal brand. Let's give kind of people some starting point.
Yeah, so I guess it started a while ago. So before I worked in PR, I worked in marketing. So I worked in social media marketing and email marketing. So I guess that's where it kind of stems from. I always had that interesting brand on social media, but we were seeing more and more that personal profiles and personal branding was becoming much more prominent, and you'd get much more value from it as well. So I guess mine started from there. And I've always had an interest in sharing marketing, updates, what people were doing, what brands were doing, whether it was out of home or a really good social campaign. I always like to share my opinion on it. So it kind of stemmed from that. But yeah, it's something I've always had an interest in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, me too. I remember when I was with Siege Media, Ross Hudgens, the CEO there, I always felt like it was kind of a mentor in that regard where he would kind of push me to build a brand. And I mean, I think for an agency, it does benefit you to have people who have a strong brand because, when you're pitching as a client or pitching to a client, you can say, I have Grace Burton, and share LinkedIn, and you can see all the great stuff that Grace has shared. And so that benefits there. But what are some of the other benefits that come out of something like building a personal brand, especially in PR, let's say?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So the benefits extend way beyond you and yourself, which I will touch on a little bit. But for you personally, it can really position you as an expert and a credible voice within your industry. And it can also help create a presence that's beyond your CV. It's essentially a living, breathing CV online. It adds your personality and your experience, and it's something that's consistently updated. And I think it makes you become someone that's instantly recognizable from like the tone of your voice, or if you use a color scheme, or even as simple as using the same emoji in every single post. It's something that becomes instantly recognizable to you and your brand, but it also expands your network. I know a lot of people think of LinkedIn as like a job seekers platform, which is what it originally started out to be, but it's expanded to become so much more than that. It can offer you speaking opportunities, partnership, clients. If you're freelancing, it can offer you that community and that sense of PR community online as well. So it comes with so many different, more unexpected opportunities than just job offers.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny you mentioned the job offer thing, because that is clearly like a big component of LinkedIn, but I don't really use any other platform at this point. I mean, especially in the digital PR community, occasionally I'll get on Twitter, but like, I feel like LinkedIn is this place to be, to, at least for me, to like share my thought leadership stuff and the BuzzStream stuff that we're doing. It seems like that's the place to be. But yeah, I was going to ask you, outside of posting to LinkedIn, are there other areas that you recommend people that want to build their personal brand in PR?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you say other than posting, because I think one of the most underrated things that people can do on social media is actively engaging and commenting on quality content. So I'm going to be a little bit sneaky with this one. I will touch on other areas, but I think, yeah, it's one of the most underrated things you can do on LinkedIn, especially, is engaging with that quality content, especially if you're not very confident and you want to start that personal branding journey, but you don't know what to post about. If you can engage with other people's content, it's a really great way to find new connections. Essentially, how it works is you can pick a couple of key people in the industry that post and turn your notifications on for them. So you're not doom scrolling like all day, every day. But when you get a notification that they've posted, you can go to their post and you can leave an insightful comment, a funny comment, something that is relatable, and essentially your name will be connected to that post. Anyone else that sees that post and engages with it after it's gone live, your name will also be there, and you can start building out visibility of your name, awareness of your insights, of your comment, and you can start building your brand that way, building connections as well through other people's content. So I would say that is one of the biggest tips of things to do. Definitely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And a long time ago, I tried this software. When I first started with BuzzStream, I was like, I want to build LinkedIn a little bit more. And I don't know of many great software platforms that work with LinkedIn. And I tried a few, and one of the kind of key takeaways from me using the platform was it enabled you to follow trends. So you could type in something like digital PR, or whatever, marketing, and it would show you like a flow of posts that were getting a lot of engagement that you could also then engage with, right? So like, that was a kind of aha moment for me. I mean, it did a couple other things. So like, it gave you AI generated responses and that you could comment with, which it wasn't great, but like, just the idea that like, oh yeah, like you have to get out there and show the algorithm you're not just this like one hit wonder, or you're just posting for yourself, that you are actively engaging. It seems like that is a big thing. And I noticed for myself, like, my follower count started skyrocketing just when I was doing something like that. I would take 20 minutes and respond to like 20 comments or something. But I didn't know about the notification thing from followers. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for, I mean, it sounds like maybe the answer might be the same for different platforms, but like other platforms, is it just a matter of same thing, like comment and be active?
Yeah, I know LinkedIn definitely rewards you for being active on the platform. They don't want you to just post and then leave the platform. They want you to actively engage with other content. So if you're showing up in other ways than just posting, it will definitely boost your own engagement and visibility on there as well. And I presume it will be the same for other platforms as well.
Yeah, I read something where like, if you do kind of fall off engagement wise, like, they will kind of always penalize you. Like, it takes you a few weeks to like get back into their good graces, almost like the algorithms get graces. So yeah, that's another interesting thing there. Okay. We talked about kind of like some online things, LinkedIn, staying engaged, talking with people, commenting. What about offline networking? Well, let's talk a little bit about that because I think people don't like the term networking, but that is integral to building a brand. So do you have any tips or tricks that you like to think of to kind of flip the narrative on the word networking for people?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it can definitely be overwhelming when you go to these face-to-face events and networking. In my personal experience, I feel like most of the people in the PR industry are always really nice. So it's important to remember that and remember that everyone's probably in the same boat, feeling a little bit awkward at these events. So I think that's the first thing to remember. But I think if you are going to these events and you want to have quality conversations and really engage with people, I think you've got to change your mindset a little bit of how many people you want to speak to. You don't have to speak to every single person in that room because that would be really overwhelming. You know, you can pick 2 or 3 people, have some really good conversations with, and just change your mindset and focus on that quality rather than quantity. I think something that's really important as well, you can be a little bit of a stalker before you go to these events. I think that's really important because there's nothing more awkward than wanting to speak to someone and going up to them and going, "Oh my God, hi." And then you don't know what else to say. So I think preparing some questions and having a plan will make your conversations go so much more smoother. Whether that's there's someone on the lineup that's speaking at the event and you want to say good luck, or you want to speak to them after they've done their talk and say, "I really loved like that you spoke about this. I really relate to this. I had a story where my client did XYZ." You've got something much more smoother to talk about. And similarly, I can't say that word, if you speak to someone you perhaps recognize off social media, again, just having a look at their profile before you go to this event. Maybe they've posted about something that you found really interesting, or they've posted a tip about a client strategy or a piece of coverage that they earn. There's something that you can talk to them about, and you can find something that you can both speak about that's going to make that conversation go much more naturally rather than panicking that you've got nothing to say, but you want to speak to people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I like that idea of kind of being prepared. I mean, there's definitely such thing as like being over prepared, right? You don't want to be stalker, like you said, but yeah, I think there's a definitely a good line in the sand that you can kind of draw to make sure you're informed maybe rather than
Definitely. I mean, you can use social media as well. Like we see people on Twitter a lot, if you want to call it Twitter. I know I still do. There's people often put something like, "I'm heading to this event, come and say hello." Definitely utilize those platforms, comment on those posts and say, "Absolutely, I'm heading down," invite people to speak to you. And then you don't have to feel like you're leading that conversation. You know, people are coming up to you as well.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And there is something interesting about meeting people in real life. Like I work from home remotely, excuse me, and I don't necessarily get to see a lot of people. So when I go to these events, I ran into someone who I managed back at BuzzStream. I mean, so at Siege Media for 2 years or something. And I was like, is that her? Pretty sure that's her. But there's something about like meeting and seeing people in real life that, there's something nice about it, but it's also can be tough to draw those comparisons. But I want to get back to something that you said earlier too. I'm realizing I should dig into a little bit more, but when you're talking about branding and setting yourself up as a brand, how do you know what to talk about? Like, how do you decide what it is you're going to post about? Is it posting personal things? You want to post, insights on the industry? Is there a percentage that you want to do both? But tell me a little bit about how your kind of personal posting strategy.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is where most people fall down when they think about their personal brand because they really want to start, but then they don't know what they want to speak about. So I think it's really important before you get started to do a bit of planning. I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but it's really important to answer a few questions, and I promise answering them will help you format your content. So you really need to think about what you want to be known for and who you want to be known to, whether that's like strategy or ideation, client wins, education, or HR, anything like you want to be known for, and really pinning that down straight away. and then again, who you want to be known to. So I'll touch on this a little bit more in a second, but you can then start to layer your content from this. Whether you want to post educational posts, and you can think about content that's tips, lessons learned, or challenges you've overcome, entertaining content. We all love a relatable meme. It's funny, but so much more than that, it's shareable. That's the type of content that helps you grow your network. So that's really important to have in. And then, as you say, personal stories, overcoming career challenges, what you've learned, or something that happened to you that's personal. This is really good content where, it's your opinion and people can't really tell you that you're wrong, because it's your story and how you overcame it, right? Which is, I think, sometimes scary on LinkedIn. You don't want people to comment and say that's wrong or what you're talking about. If it's your personal experience, people can't really do that because it's, it's how you've gone through that certain situation. But just getting down to your audience and who you're writing for, if you start to split this out, it really helps you with your content. So if you think about, if you're a freelancer, you want to be writing content for brands or for potential clients. So when you think about that, what content they're going to be interested in, maybe sharing case studies, sharing results, showing your authority, your expertise. If you're writing for other PRs and you want to attract people in the industry, you want to make their lives easier. So you want to be posting tips, any key dates that are coming up that people can tap into, strategy ideas or inspiration for a campaign or how you get your ideas for clients. If you're posting for juniors or graduates, you want to be thinking, the type of content, like what's the one thing that you do if you were starting your PR career tomorrow, or advice or how-tos, how to get into PR. So you start talking about groups of people. It starts making that content a little bit easier because you know what they would want to read. So I think that's really important to do. And as you said, like, people struggle with content ideas. I did a poll on Twitter, probably a couple of years ago now, but almost 20% of people said content ideas were the biggest barrier to them starting their personal brand because they don't know what to write about. But inspiration can come from anywhere. Literally, in our jobs as PRs, we know this. We know that inspiration comes from anywhere. And what I would say is literally treat it like an ideation session. Sit down and spend like an hour or half an hour thinking about different topics. It doesn't have to be fully thought out posts. It can be topics, questions, all of those sorts of things. And you will have so much content. Think about client wins, personal wins or lessons, your personal achievements. Think about the questions that your clients ask you when you're on a call with your client and they ask you a question, or your friends and family ask you what you do because they have no idea what you do. Think about those questions, Think about industry trends, what people are searching for around digital PR. Don't be afraid to use tools like ChatGPT, Answer the Public, even Google. What are people searching for? What are the questions that they want answering? And then you can expand it beyond that. You can do reactive content. You can pick up campaigns that you loved this month and why, or why they failed, or there's inspiration to be found everywhere for posting to social media.
Yeah, so many tips in there. I'm trying to think back to like when I first started. I think one of the things that helped me kind of formulate my own strategy. I mean, it's like, if you and I, Grace, are talking about like specific like PR professionals here, it's like you just pretend you're your own client, right? Like, what do you want your client to talk about? How do you want to present the information? It should be really easy, but sometimes, we get a little paralyzed with being afraid to, screw up. And I think it's the rubric I used to follow was like, find an interesting stat or report or something, or a piece of content, and then like break it down, give some takeaways. We used to do that at Siege, like on our company Slack, and it would be like, here's a piece of content, here's what it makes, here's the takeaways for you, and like as a marketer. And like that was what I wanted to be known for. And then I started leaning into just like sharing cool content that I saw, kind of similar to what you all do with the PR Insider. And like, I would have some takes on why I think it works, or maybe content I don't think works or whatever. And then slowly it was like, oh, if people would start to mention, if you want to learn more about content, digital PR stuff, like check out Vince's stuff because he talks about that all the time. So it might be a niche, but it's okay to lean into it. I think it was my learning there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're writing for other PRs, anything you can do to make their life easier. like you say, reading reports that people don't have time to read. They always bookmark and they're like, I'll read that. And then so, if you can summarize it and say, here are your key takeaways, here's how you can actually implement it in your role tomorrow. Posts like that always do really well. Posts like key dates or campaigns that you've seen and loved. Yeah, anything that makes people's lives easier, because some people just don't have the time to go out and find that content. If it's there, it's digestible and it's easily scannable, it's going to work well for people.
Yeah, again, like we are PR professionals. Like think about if you were pitching something to a journalist, right? Like, I think it's the same principles. Like you want to do the work for them. And yeah, I love that. Grace, do you have any people that you follow that do a really good job building their own personal brand?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's lots of people that are doing really well in their niches at the minute. I've realized I've thought about people who are all freelancers, but it's great to give them a shout anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone who's doing a really great job on LinkedIn is Matt Seabridge. You probably follow him. What he does a really great job of posting, but what he does even better is repurposing his content. He's making that content work harder that he's already produced. The content that he shares in his newsletter, he breaks that down into chunks, and that forms his content strategy for like a week or 2 weeks. And that is really how you can make your time and your content work harder. It doesn't have to be a huge drain of your time. You can do one thing, you can do one blog post, you can break that down into 5 or 6 different posts on LinkedIn. And that's something that he's doing really well.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Matt's stuff. He's got a great newsletter, the Digital PR Observer. And speaking of newsletters, so I mentioned this earlier, you help build the PR Insider, which is a weekly newsletter that you do alongside of Tia Chippendale and Maya Adams. So, I mean, it sounds like our newsletter is something that you recommend for people. Is that like a must have? You want to build a personal brand?
I would say it depends on the person. It depends on your time commitment, because, building these once a week or once a month, it can be quite a heavy investment on your time. So I say it definitely depends on what your goals are. If you're a freelancer, it's always great to do that, to build your community, to build your email marketing and, showcase your expertise to clients. So it definitely depends. I think for me, being involved in a newsletter really helped me coming into the PR industry as a newbie, really helped me build my awareness over the industry and, what's working well, what people are doing, keeping up to date with different travel industries, fashion, food, all of these different things. And that's definitely something that it's helped me to build out my commercial awareness. But yeah, it definitely depends because they are a commitment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've seen some people going like the Substack route too as a newsletter, which can kind of feel more like a quasi blog post, quasi newsletter too. So yeah, that's definitely something to check out, I think, for people curious, building personal brand. I think a lot of it is like the people that you associate yourself with, right? So, and you mentioned getting part of the PR Insider. Are there any groups that exist that you recommend that people join in the PR field that can help them kind of just get exposed to more stuff and build the brand that way?
I was thinking about this and I actually don't know. I'm not a part of any groups specifically. I know that there's a lot of freelancer Slack channels popping around and those kind of communities. And there's not lots of newsletters, but I'm not too aware of any groups, PR people. And I'd love to know that. So I'd be interested.
Yeah, maybe there's a chance for you to create one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
As if you don't have as much on your plate already. Okay, so we kind of covered building a brand, kind of the platforms to focus on, kind of what it takes to, the types of posts to do, and kind of the importance of commenting and being engaged in other people's work. What am I missing, Grace? Like, if you were interviewing me about this, like what haven't I asked that people should know about when it comes to personal branding?
Something I did want to touch on earlier, and just going back to sort of the benefit for people and posting on LinkedIn. We've obviously touched on personal benefits and how it can the value for you. But I really wanted to touch on the value for businesses and the value for employers as well. I know it's quite a hot topic and a lot of brands can be a little bit weary about having their employees post on social media. But I just wanted to share a stat. And I think it really puts it into perspective of that value and that visibility. So personal posts on social media get 3 times more engagement than branded ones. So if your employees are building their personal brand and they're present, it massively improves brand visibility as well in that authentic way. So it's definitely something that brands can, gain value from. It also can help to attract future employees and future clients. I think this is a really good example because when I was looking for jobs, I definitely had a look at people who worked at Digitaloft and, whether they really enjoyed working here, what the value was, what they liked about it. And that led me down to head to their careers page, and it can really lead people down that funnel to landing on your site. You can attract, not just future clients, but future employees as well. It can also really strengthen the brand or the agency's authority in the industry. You can post updates from brand pages, but if your employees are posting updates as well, it really showcases that expertise within the entire team, not just the brand. And just helps support the entire marketing strategy. I think if brands are a little bit wary, they can definitely create tools to help people, understand what they can post, the tone of voice and that kind of thing. But it's just something that I wanted to share because I know some brands don't allow it or don't like it, but it comes with so many benefits.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the thing that I would worry about sometimes as a brand is coming off as being an ad for the brand, right? So like, what are some suggestions you have there for, I mean, you kind of outlined this prior, but like in the context of like you're working at a brand, how do you promote a brand without promoting a brand? you know, how can your employees promote the brand without overtly promoting?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. It kind of comes from your personal and team wins, I guess. I think Amy Irvine, who works at Digitaloft, is a really great example of this. So she shares the team's successes, client wins, but she really humanizes it. It's not coming from a place of like forced content from the brand. It's coming from her sharing that really excitable win. And I think you can instantly tell that. So if you're sharing it from your personal perspective, it instantly comes across that it's not sort of from the brand. There's loads of types of content that you can share. If your employer does something really nice that gives you a half a day off, or, for employee mental health
Mhm.
wellbeing day, they give you a voucher or a coffee, or there's lots of things that people share that can come across really authentic rather than forced. And I think it still sells the brand as a whole. Sharing wins can show how successful the company is. And then you can also go from that to employee benefits to show how they look after employees. So you're hitting both target groups there with types of content like that.
Yeah, I love that. Those are great suggestions for sure. Well, Grace, I know you're busy building the brand out there, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time here. So I really appreciate you coming on. This has been great. People can find you on LinkedIn. I think it's where you said you're most active, but also check out the PR Insider newsletter. Tia, Maya, and Grace do a fantastic job. Great content from around the web for PRs. And I said this earlier, but just a reminder, like, subscribe, but share this stuff with your colleagues because, if as they have questions, if you have questions, Grace, I'm sure, would be more than happy to answer them. Engage with this, engage with our content. I'll be sharing this. I'm sure Grace will too. Comment, ask questions. It's a great way to get your brand out there and show the algorithms that you're engaged, but also kind of show people and potential clients that you're real people and you're knowledgeable in this space. So Grace, thank you so much. This has been great, and hope to have you on again sometime soon when we're all crushing it with our brands.
Thank you so much for having me. Nice to speak to you.